Edward Puffton, CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, Puff Corporation, is an elite businessman and a persistent business opportunist. Upon hearing of a new, undiscovered metal from anonymous travelers/adventurers, Edward, sensing another business opportunity, wasted no time and searched for its source. Eventually, he traced its possible location. An island known only as Site 2, estimated to be roughly 9 kilometers squared in size with 3,000 by 3,000 meters of side length. Site 2 is a vastly forested area with a complex river system encompassing its landmass with a huge mountain clad in ice in the middle. Aside from its topography, nothing much is known about the island. Edward Puffton's bid to purchase the island is anything but smooth sailing. Another multi-million-dollar company, Sahara Therapeutics, has the same island in its sights. Notorious for conducting medical experiments on sickly children via a program dubbed the Gyrus Project, Sahara is the antagonist corporation from the first game. Sahara's methods are questionable, to say the least. Using a mysterious artifact found in the peninsula, Sahara experimented on resurrecting deceased children at the expense of sacrificing a living one. Edward was no stranger to Sahara. Years before, he sent his daughter Virginia to be cured in the facility. Years later, Edward now finds himself in a bidding war with Sahara over Site 2. However, due to the financial troubles of Sahara and Puff Corporation just having a thicker wallet, the latter eventually won the rights to the island. Wasting no time, Puff Corp rushed the construction of a luxurious underground retreat on the island known as Hollow Springs Resort. But this luxurious facility seems to be just a front for Puff Corp's real agenda. What that is will be disclosed later in the game. In an invitation letter sent by Hollow Spring employee Albert Pitch, Edward invited the facility's guests to the main dining hall. Edward, together with his family, was supposedly in the gathering with the guests. The Puftons and all the guests of Hollow Springs were never heard from again.
Rana, Rana.
31 weeks, or roughly 7 months, since the Puftons went radio silent, 2 teams of Puff Corp special operatives were sent to the mysterious island to look for the elite family. As the protagonist was taking a look at his laptop to reassess the details of the mission, gunfire reverberated in the air. Almost immediately thereafter, the chopper engine burst into flames, causing it to spiral out of control and crash. The protagonist awakens to the sight of a person clad in a tarp-like silver jacket. This unknown individual, who likely caused the chopper to crash, wastes no time showing the protagonist the business end of a revolver and smashing the back end thereof to his right temple. Upon regaining consciousness, our protagonist sees one of his comrades, Kelvin, writhing in pain on the ground. After helping Kelvin get back on his feet, our hero's adventure on the island officially begins. Kelvin and our protagonist first encounter Virginia Puffton. Mutated, she seems to have retained some aspects of her humanity. Aside from growing extra limbs, she has kept most of her human aesthetic. She was also non-aggressive, and her ability for emotional attachment was intact. At first, she is afraid of our protagonist, but after showing her kindness, she joins him and Kelvin. Our protagonist opens his GPS map to orient himself to his location on the island and to apprise himself of his position relative to his missions. The pre-marked green waypoints on the GPS indicate the bunkers. The purple ones are Puff operatives who were either sent ahead of the protagonist or detailed as security of Hollow Springs Resort. However, our protagonist quickly discovers that his fellow operatives have met an untimely demise, most likely in the hands of either the violent cannibalistic tribesmen native to the island or the mysterious humanoid mutants who, unlike Virginia, are devoid of humanity. What was once human are now horrifying creatures devoid of any rational thinking and driven only by their base desire to feed, attacking any living creature unfortunate enough to cross paths with it. Bodies of dead Puff Corp employees, as well as personnel clad in Spec Ops gear with no GPS trackers on them, were also found in different areas of the island. Who these operatives were will be disclosed later in the game. Being the last area where the Puftons were last located, the protagonist, after securing the corresponding security cards, first investigated the dining hall bunker. There he stumbled upon horrific footage in the security room. The The Puftons, together with Hollowspring guests, can be seen enjoying each other's company. Suddenly, they began to twitch uncontrollably and transformed into the mutants we see roaming on the island. Upon entering the dining hall, the protagonist was greeted with the macabre scene of dead people who did not survive the transformation. However, the Pufton seats were empty. We know that Virginia survived thanks to her exposure to the artifact as a child, but where are Edward and Barbara? Sadly, the Pufton couple weren't so lucky. Emerging from the dark side of the dining hall, like the others, they fully mutated into these super-aggressive humanoid mutants. As our main protagonist continues on his mission, he eventually discovered that in the process of mining the mysterious mineral, PuffCorp inadvertently discovers the existence of a mysterious cube deep inside one of the cave systems of the island. Sensing another, possibly bigger business opportunity, Edward spearheaded an investigation into it. PuffCorp sent communications to Sahara, inquiring as to the nature of the cube, since the same seems to possess similar properties and is made up of the same mystery material as the artifact Sahara has been using in its gyrus experiments. It was then disclosed by Sahara through a letter correspondence to employees that the cube can open a portal to another dimension, with the caveat, however, that it is not without adverse effects to anyone not inside of it when activated. PuffCorp then hired father and son duo Timmy and Eric LeBlanc. Timmy, having been resurrected by the artifact as a child, is now plagued with mutations of his own and struggling with the effects of exposure to interdimensional shifts. As an adult, Timmy has dedicated his life to investigating the phenomenon of multidimensional travel and is now a world-renowned expert on the matter. His father, Eric, on the other hand, was a famous survival expert and was known to have first-hand experience with Sahara's experiments and was the one who used the resurrection artifact on his son Timmy. Based on Timmy's research, it was discovered that the cube activated every 8 lunar cycles. Knowing the cube's potential, Edward Pufton ended all correspondence with Sahara. Through a memo by his wife Barbara, all digital copies of the information on the cube were ordered erased and retained only hard copies thereof. This is the real reason why Puff Corporation built Hollow Springs Resort. Edward Pufton, being the genius business mogul that he is, rushed the construction of the facility before the cube's next scheduled activation. Hollow Springs Resort attracted its wealthy guests and patrons, not with its private location and state-of-the-art amenities, but with the promise of experiencing interdimensional travel. The resort was just used to house its guests while they wait for the next scheduled activation of the cube. Infuriated, Sahara injected a mole within the security division of Hollow Springs to sabotage its operation. Enter Jianyu Zhang, a Chinese spy working for Sahara Therapeutics. He was the same person who shot down the chopper and knocked out the protagonist in the opening cutscene. The dead Spec Ops with no GPS trackers on them were Sahara sleeper agents sent to steal Puff Corporation's research. We know this since in the previous version of the game, Zhang was seen escaping with 2 of these operatives. It was Zhang who activated the cube during the dining hall banquet, which sealed the fate of the Puftons and their guests. Eventually, the protagonist stumbled upon Timmy and Eric fighting off a giant blob mutant in one of the bunkers. He quickly joined the duo. However, Zhang, together with some Sahara operatives, made an appearance and shot Eric. When he came to, our protagonist continued investigating the bunker while also looking to rejoin Timmy and Eric. In one of the rooms, he found an email sent by Edward Pufton to PuffCorp employee Hank Keyes. The email spoke of trespassers who apparently came to the island for the sole purpose of taking their own lives. In the security room, Timmy can be seen trying to enter a bunker, but is unable to. Fortunately for Timmy, the lock is controlled in one of the consoles. Our protagonist opens the door for Timmy, who then proceeds to enter the bunker. In the same room, one of the laptops informed of a newly discovered cave, and another contained an email about people wearing strange apparel resembling a spacesuit. Having a new lead, our protagonist first went to investigate the newly discovered cave. At the entrance, he found 2 dead bodies who appear to be cult members clad in white robes. The robes bore a seal with the words Sons of the Stars written around it. Nestled between the bodies is a book called The Realm Beyond. Written by Derek Seaside, the book speaks of how to enter the Sons of the Stars. It is quite possible that the author is the founder of the cult, or, at the very least, a high-ranking officer thereof. Inside the cave, more cult members can be found along with paintings of what appears to be people pointing at something resembling a UFO. Some skeletons can be seen hanging from the ceiling and others submerged underwater. While making his way through the cave, the protagonist encounters demonic creatures. It is unclear where they are from. Fortunately, they are relatively easy to kill as these entities burst into flames at the sight of the crucifix. Deeper, inside the cave, we find an area with a more refined form of the mysterious metal formed into platforms and pillars lining the cave walls. Even further, we find more dead or at least human-like beings clad in spacesuit-like apparel. They seem to have died while worshipping before an altar made out of the mysterious metal with a skeleton clad in the golden armor in the middle. After grabbing the golden armor, our protagonist proceeds to the luxury bunker. The same bunker we saw Timmy enter in the security room video feed. Deep inside the bunker is a giant golden door made out of the same mystery metal. The door is locked and can be accessed using the golden armor. Inside appears to be a portal to hell where we find more of those demons. It appears the cube opened a portal to the underworld and brought these demonic creatures in the process. This place is literally hell on earth. At the very depths of this magma-ridden underworld, we find Timmy fighting a giant demon boss. Timmy, using his own mutation, valiantly fought off and stood his ground against this spawn of hell towering over him. Ultimately, though, the demon overpowered Timmy and flung him into a far corner of the cave. After defeating the demon, the protagonist proceeds into a crevice where he passes a narrow passageway with more dead cult members. At the end of this passageway is another crevice. Inside, we reunite with Timmy. It is in this area that the cube is located. Timmy informs them that it is mere moments before its next activation. The protagonists, Timmy, Virginia, and Kelvin, hurry inside the cube to escape its effects when it activates. Jang, the silver jacket agent, desperately tried to enter, but it was too late. The cube had already closed. The cube activates, and we see Timmy split into multiple versions of himself. This could be the cube ridding Timmy of the different versions of himself from different dimensions living inside of him. Whatever the case may be, this has freed Timmy from the curse that has plagued him since childhood, or so it seems. The cube also shows a glimpse into another dimension. Could this be where the mysterious metal and where the beings in the spacesuit originated from? The cube door opens and we see the horrible fate of Jianyu Zhang. The four went above ground where two helicopters hover above, ready to fetch our party. As the choppers were about to land, a creature emerges from the ground. Jianyu Zhang, now a giant blob mutant, grabbed one of the helicopters and devoured its pilot. Timmy, who apparently has not been rid of his mutation, tries to fight off what once was the Silver Jacket agent. Unfortunately, it knocked him out cold. Upon defeating Zhang, the remaining chopper touches down, where Tim's dad, Eric, then alights from. Timmy, Virginia, Kelvin, and our protagonist boarded the helicopter and flew to safety. If you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing. Have a great day, y'all, and peace out.